The Department of Energy and Electricity has kicked off a week-long targeted stakeholder engagements on the draft Integrated Resource 2023 Plan, the IRP, with a particular emphasis on realizing the country's pursuit of just energy transition. The IRP is South Africa's electricity generation energy mix roadmap. Electricity and Energy Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa plans to take the document to Parliament in the first quarter of 2025. Now, today marked day one of a stakeholder engagement targeted at entities that submitted substantive comments in the draft IRP 2023 document following its release in January. A strategic approach in planning South Africa's secure energy supply from various sources, with the IRP Review Committee saying the different views from stakeholders are important in giving the document credibility. The IRP aims to align the country's future energy demand with available resources, the necessary capacity additions, and the incorporating of new technologies in the mix. It speaks to input assumptions, looking at various scenarios. The country is looking to use the document as a blueprint towards the just energy transition. Let's, of course, get some insight on this. Energy analyst Adil Nchabeleng joins us for a conversation. Adil, very good evening to you. What do you make of these conversations and, of course, the big aim and the big push by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to secure cabinet approval for this plan?
I think to start off with, we must actually congratulate South Africa. We have incredible plans and zero follow-up on implementation. So this is yet another plan that comes from a plan which has not yet been implemented. Remember, there is the IRP 2019, which was supposed to have been a guiding document for the last 5 years over to 2024 in order to make sure that we have a strategic integrated resource plan which is supposed to give direction and focus to South Africa's energy planning. That hasn't happened. I mean, we've had the IRP. The most that has been implemented within the IRP is the quarrels as well as the issues of literally blocking the implementation of various energy sources, such as your coal power plants, such as your conversion of certain coal power plants into HALA technology, which is high efficiency, low emissions, and the pushback by the Greenies from actually encouraging South Africa to move towards the element of adopting nuclear. So we don't have a plan that really speaks to the South Africa that we all desire, which is a South Africa that is based on energy security, sovereignty, as well as energy independence. We have a plan that is dictated by multinationals as well as foreign governments and entities that are actually adamant to destroy South Africa's energy sovereignty. The current plan speaks about the just energy transition. Most people in South Africa have rejected that notion to say they don't want to be exiting out of coal and fossil fuel because this is their lifeline. We've got the Komati community that has been suffering over the years now since the closure of the Komati power station, as well as the Komati, coal basin economy. So some of these things in South Africa really are perplexing. That we have this incredible plans that they would put together, they would get comments from public, and people would comment and say, this is what we desire to see. But when it comes to implementation, very little is carried through. The IRP 2019 has not been implemented. Why are we going to 2024 now?
So as these talks take place and stakeholders gather to really bring their heads together, trying to draft this document, what are some of the important questions that need to be asked here as, we move to a different document when there is one already in place and, as you say, has yet to be implemented?
That's the same question. Why has the IRP 19 not been implemented? It has the same strategic plans. It has the same energy allocation as the current one. The only difference in the current IRP that they are proposing is the increases in the allocation towards renewables energy. The rest has been there and actually has been even stabilized. I mean, the inclusion of even properly gazetting and documenting the element of nuclear into it, the increase in terms of the allocation of gas, as well as making it very clear, has been in the IRP 2019. So the argument right now from us who are specialists in this space is, what is different? I mean, this is just taking an old plan, calling it by a different name and expecting it to sound or look different. There is nothing different. Why have you not been able as government to implement IRP 19? Parliament as well as people in the legislature, as well as people in South Africa on ordinary level, should be asking government these questions. Why are you wasting resources to make plans that you fail to implement 5 years, every year, on succession basis, and yet you expect us to still take you serious and trust you that you're capable in terms of your leadership? Nothing has changed in these IRP plans. I mean, it's the most really ridiculous processes that they're undertaking. Yes, of course they get paid to do that work of really doing so-called, engagement, but it's just a gross waste of resources and a fruitless, wasteful expenditure. I don't see a reason for any more of this really Lekgotla sessions, get together, the forums, they're talking about an IRP that we know once it's documented, it will not see the light of the day in terms of implementation.
So why do you think, Adil, that it may be falling short? I mean, is it a leadership issue? What is the reasoning that could bring one to some level of understanding as to why the repetition, why the failure to just get this thing going?
Look, the current energy space, as well as decision-making at a policy level, has been hijacked and is captured by a renewables energy interest, which is really the REIPPs, renewable energy independent power producers, which are mostly multinationals, foreign governments, entities and banks in the main, who have an interest in taking away Eskom's supply of electricity to the public and privatizing electricity generation. So what you're seeing happening is actually a forceful route to say, we will have it gazetted into an IRP. Within the IRP, we will push the government to ensure that there is an allocation of resources towards implementing the plan that has been stipulated. Any other resource, for instance, resource plan within the IRP that, for instance, talks to coal, gas, nuclear, we're talking about other resources such as making sure that you have a very strong utilization of our gas infrastructure in South Africa. You can bring in other resources that make sure that you preserve electricity, you reduce emissions with what we spoke about, which is making sure that we clean the coal and we make it efficient coal, which is HELE energy, which is high efficiency, low emissions. This time around, they don't want to talk about HELE coal, which is high efficiency, low emissions, which means you take the coal, you burn it at a high efficient level, but you make sure that you lower the emissions and you meet the required international standards in terms of emissions. So what are we talking about? That's what I'm saying to you, that we're going into a cycle. The minister is excited, Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, but he's not doing anything different. We've already gone through this cycle before. We want to see the implementation. They should come to us as the public and saying, guys, we are implementing 2019's plan and we are following up on that plan. Here is the background of how far we've gone into the milestones of implementing the plan. We have achieved XYZ, we have done 1, 2, 3. We have been able to say 80% of the plan is currently being undertaken. There's a shortage of the 20%, and that 20% requires that we do XYZ. There's no such a thing. They're just talking again in vacuum, in a hollow environment, without even talking to the real players in the sector, and they're talking to themselves and their vested interest, which is the multinationals, the international governments, as well as the banks that are only interested in taking over Eskom's monopoly on generating electricity at a cheaper rate.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Energy analyst Adil Nchabeleng, they're giving us, helping us find some perspective around these stakeholder engagements.